Going live, guys. All right, it says we're live, so welcome from the crossroads of America. Talk show about guns, politics, or anything else that crosses my mind. Answer questions from the audience, just put them in the chat or email me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. I've got a Patreon page and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's all listed down there below in the information section there on YouTube. I've even got a link there for a one-time payment to PayPal if you don't want to do Patreon. So there we go. Anyway, let me get started. I think people are only just starting to come in because right now we got Jason, Gun-Loving Grandpa, Kingpin, Clover Tech in the chat right now. But it's a Saturday, so people could be out and about doing their stuff. They're easing up restrictions in some parts of the country. So hopefully starting Monday, my diner will be open, 50% capacity. So I'm looking forward to that. But I did ask her the other day if she was going to. She says she's waiting for the paperwork or whatever to come out from the state government to say what she actually has to do to open up to see whether it's cost effective. I mean, like you said, if I got to supply sanitizer on every table and all this kind of stuff, it might cost me more than I'm actually making. So I don't know. Mystic Guns is here. Ohio 45 ACP is here. Raphael is here. How you guys doing? Let me introduce my panel at the moment. We've got Kingpin. How you doing?
Alrighty. Thanks for having me, Rick. Good to see everybody today.
Yeah, then the man from down in Texas there, Clover Tech.
Thanks for the invite, Rick. Appreciate it.
No problem. Then the man from the epicenter of New York. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Rick. Hello, everybody.
No problem. All right. Anyway, Kingpin, didn't your state have a victory in 2A or something in the court this week or yesterday or whenever it was?
Not that I'm aware of. You could enlighten me. That'd be great. I'm always in for some good news.
Oh, I don't think it was a victory in the court. No, your governor vetoed a bunch of gun bills that were bad.
That's the first I've heard of it. I'll have to look into it. I know that
he vetoed them because the state government wouldn't accept his tighter control ones. They put their own in, and he didn't like them, so he vetoed them all. To me, he's being petty.
Larry Hogan's not a good guy. So if you tell me that he does something shady, I'm not going to be surprised. If you tell me that he did something, constitutional, I'll be pretty surprised. But
it wasn't really constitutional. I mean, there was some bad gun bills. He suggested some gun bills for the government to run. They rejected everything that he wanted, and they put their own restrictive gun bills in. So he vetoed them because he didn't use any of his.
Well, I thought it kind of revolved around the taxes and some things like that too. So my understanding was that it was the anti-2A legislation was fat. You know what I'm saying? It was stuffed in there, and the reason he didn't veto it because of that, he vetoed it because of the tax issues, the economy and stuff. Now, that was my understanding, and I could be wrong.
No, you could be. You're morally right. I got a bad habit of just reading the first couple of lines.
They're trying to push this thing called the Kerwin Initiative, which is basically the highest taxes that any state has ever seen in the history of our country. We'll make California look like they're getting off. And a lot of people, even some of the crazies on the left-hand side, are pushing back against it because it basically will tax breathing.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I also noticed that talking about California, what did the governor say? They're $54 billion in debt because of this coronavirus, and he's keeping everything closed. Anyway, what I was going to talk about today, and I won't do it justice. I got this from another one of those Dennis Prager videos, and I put the link down in the information section of the one. It's a series of firearm chats or something, fireplace chats or whatever he calls them. But I mean, like I said, we are no longer free in this country. I don't think. Look how easy we have given up our rights. You know, we have just stood here and took it, and I find it absolutely pitiful that we did that. Oh, damn. So
Hey, Rick.
I lost my chat room again. Here we go.
Hey, Rick, on the legislation, the gun law stuff. One thing I'm wondering if you were thinking about this. The GOA had some pretty big wins in Massachusetts and Maryland with reopening gun shops and shooting ranges this last week. Is that one of the things? I don't know if that was one you were thinking about too.
Yeah, that was it as well.
I don't know that it's not too little too late. You know what I mean? I mean, all this stuff is starting to settle down and places are reopening anyway. But, you know, a win's a win. I guess we take it when we can get it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The gun range is open back up on Wednesday around here. So that's the only positive two-way thing, like Clover was saying, that I've heard about around here.
Yeah, but it's got to be tough. I mean, our range. Now, I was telling the guys on Friday in the chat I go in, for some unknown reason, I got my normal. I had the money for anyway. I got my normal Social Security check on Thursday night instead of Friday morning. So I thought, instead of going Friday afternoon, I'll go Friday morning down to the gun store. So I got up early, took a shower, got dressed. I haven't been out all week, so I thought I better take a shower. You know what I'm saying? So I drove all the way down there, got to the parking lot. It's about 20 miles from here. It was pouring a rain Friday morning. Got to the gun store, and I'm going, okay, if I got everything, wallet, and I'm tapping my pocket. I carry it in my jacket pocket, and I'm tapping my chest here. I forgot to pick up my wallet. So I got back in the truck, drove all the way back home, the other 20 miles back home, got in here, got my wallet, got back in the truck and drove all the way back again. So I finally got in there and I got my gun. I was looking at it, filled out the 4473. They put all the information in, and we're sitting there waiting. Then about 10 minutes had gone past. And the guy looked at his computer. He goes, "Oh God!" He goes, "The NIC system has crashed." It took about an extra 30 minutes after that for it to come back online. So it took me practically I was in there all morning, you know. But I didn't mind being in the gun store all morning.
So do you got a carry for Indiana?
Do I got a carry permit? Yeah.
And so that doesn't in Indiana. That doesn't allow you to bypass. Then, all right?
No, you still have to fill out the 4473 and wait.
That sucks.
But in Texas, you don't have. If you got a carry, you don't have to, do you?
Correct.
But do you still have to fill out the 4473? But you don't have to wait?
Oh yeah. You have to. Yeah. And that's more of a people talk about that. That's more of a tracking thing for the FFLs than anything. The 4473 is 4473. Out of all the infringements, that's one I could. The way that they are currently handled. That's not to say that they're not going to change rules and regulations and do something different. But the way the 4473s are currently handled, I don't have a huge problem with that. But we still have to do that.
Yeah.
What's cool is that my local, and I don't know, other places may have this too. My local gun shop has it digital. It's all digital 4473, and I'm in the customer database thing. I literally all I had to do is click a button like
And,
click.
and it automatically fills it out for
Yeah,
you. To go.
yeah. I mean, if there's changes, I have to make the changes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I could literally like click a button. I like literally start to type my name, and then as soon as I hit it, it like fills everything else in, and then I gotta like, it's like, is this information correct? And then I print and then sign, and that's it.
That's great. That's great. Now they don't have that here, but I still like it that, you know, because like in Rhode Island, I went in and filled the 4473 and could walk out with my firearm because I had a carry permit. Otherwise, if it didn't, it's a 7-day wait. But at least here in Indiana, even if you don't have a permit, you can walk out with your gun straight away. You know, which I find fascinating. That's part of freedom, I guess.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about if anybody on the panel or out in the chat, talking about the NIC system being down. That's one of the things that I chuckle when, and that's happened many, many times over the last decade for sure. But I chuckle when I hear that because, I mean, I've been buying guns since I was old enough to buy guns. And the NIC system has been crap since the day it was implemented. It's been for ever since the day after it was implemented. It goes down all the freaking time. So
yeah,
it's not really anything new to people that go, well, the NIC system is down. Oh my God. And it's like, it's okay. It's down more than this up almost. It seems like it's multiple days a year, every year for, like I said, ever since it was implemented, it's been that way. I'm curious if anybody remembers that, but I can remember 20 years ago, buying something or being in a gun. That's all the systems down. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah. Knowing being a government thing, it's more than likely using some old, out of date, equipment that it's using.
Yeah, people like to think the government uses new stuff. It's like, no.
Oh no, they don't.
And it goes to the lowest bidder. On top of that.
Oh, you're right there. It's I know, because I remember. I'm trying to think where it was. They were still using Windows XP. One government agency I was dealing with. So
they've got. I kid you not, the courthouse here, you're talking like Podunk. We're fairly poor county anyway, but, it's still funny. You go into the courthouse and there's certain things with records and stuff like that. It's still DOS, man.
Oh, Jesus.
Like literally, there's like a book sitting there with like commands and crap, and like if you want to find this record or this record, it gives you instructions on type command control space C D something, the name of your file or your last name, blah blah blah, and it lays it all out in this little manual. It's crazy.
Yeah. I agree with that. Anyway, let's get back to my subject here, being we're no longer the land of the free and the home of the brave, because that is the way that we've indoctrinated. Personally, I blame it on us. When I say us, we the people, the majority of the people, and our education system. We don't teach the kids pride in our country. We don't teach them, about the Constitution, how this country was done. I mean, I know I lived in England and Europe for 30 odd years, half of my life. But I understood how this country operated. I learned it in school. And one of the times I went to American school, I learned this kind of stuff. And out of all my brothers and sisters, I've only got one brother and one sister. And I'm the only one that's come to live over here. They're still living in England thinking they're having a great life. Don't get me wrong, I loved England, but after living here, I've been here almost 25 years now. So, I couldn't live back there now. I can go for a visit, but I couldn't live there. I just feel like I'm being trapped, and it's just the way.
It's one of them things, and it even happens in this country, Rick, from area to area. People just don't know any better. And it's like you've experienced. You got out of there, and now you know better, right?
Yeah,
So until somebody makes that, and it's a life changing decision. Heck, you moved across states. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
It's a life changing decision to move across town, or across a state, or across the country, let alone a whole other country. So most people just aren't willing to make that jump.
yeah. You're right there. And oh damn it, I keep losing my chat window for some reason. Here we go. Um, yeah, and what I find strange, especially my older brother, he did live here. I mean, the few times growing up as kids, we lived in the States and stuff. But after he graduated from school, he lived here for about 3 years in California, believe it or not. That would have been back in the mid to late 70s. Then he went back to England, and he's been there ever since.
Well, being in California probably wasn't much of a contrast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. So anyway, but where I'm going is, I think also with this COVID-19 epidemic, we have. I mean, as the way the government, mainly not so much the federal, believe it or not, but they got part in it, but the individual states, the way they just sort of like, because it's a health issue, your rights don't count anymore. And we have just stood here and took it.
And it's the same thing used for gun control in a lot of places for public safety, and that's how they all tend to make their laws. So at least around here in New York. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's I don't know. I don't.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah, go on.
Well, we haven't all stood here and took it. You know what I mean? And so the bigger question to me is and the vast majority of people have. I agree with you on that. But the bigger question is, how do we motivate people and stuff? And it's really hard when the government is incentivizing people to stay home by giving them $600 more on their unemployment, or passing out $1,200 stimulus checks or whatever. Just the freedom of liberty and stuff like that is hard. You know what I mean? Whoops.
What happened? Okay, there we go. We're back.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. That was me. That was my end here. I lost my page, and I clicked on it, and it reloaded it, so I had to go in twice here. So, all right, we're back. So sorry about that, people. Yeah, but you're right. I'm not saying everybody, but I think as a whole,
yeah,
a lot of people just accepted it. It's like, what's that saying? They rather have the government take all the decisions for you. Freedom isn't free. Freedom doesn't mean you're totally secure and and the state's going to take care of you.
Well,
there's risk with freedom.
People are lazy.
Yeah, they are.
And with technology and everything else, people are getting lazier and lazier. So when you have a shutdown like this, and then people become complacent too, we know that. So when you've got a combination of the laziness and the complacency, and you force people to stay home, and then there's no repercussions to them staying home because they're getting $600 more a month on unemployment, or they're getting a stimulus check or whatever. There's no, Benjamin Franklin said something about make people uncomfortable in their poverty, right? Well, they're not only are they not uncomfortable, but they're not even in poverty, and they're being paid or whatever, or coddled or whatever, to be lazy. And so complacency will set in, and that's what I'm saying. It's such a hard thing, and to overcome. I don't know how we craft a message of spreading liberty and the thought of freedom and all this other stuff. And our rights, and I don't know how we in today's society, I just don't know how we counter the pocketbook of big government. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean exactly. And what I find scary, which is another part of my little opening clickbait to get you guys to come here, right? As you were saying there, we can't motivate people. We can lose liberty in a generation.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that. You can lose this.
Some people will be motivated. I think not everybody will qualify for certain things and this and that, and the effects will reach their families, things like that. So I think some people, maybe start looking at this a little more.
Well,
So I don't think everybody's going to be comfortable. I mean, a $1,200 check, it doesn't do a lot. And the unemployment, according to the numbers, there's a lot of people that weren't employed. So I can still see this motivating some people in some ways.
Well, I hope
hopefully to question things. Yeah.
The Democrats are now talking about giving everybody $2,000 a month for a whole year. It's not got nothing to do really with helping you get over the virus. It's all to do to try to tank the economy for hopefully they can win in November. It's what it's all about, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have I've said this a jillion times. This would not be the way that it is now if it was not an election year, period.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking back on it now, I honestly feel that as a country, we went too far. You know what? Because it hasn't turned out like the world projected it to be. But what I'm scared about is look at Sweden, the only country in the world that didn't do anything. They had a few deaths, but the rest of them, they got sort of like, because they went on about their daily lives, they all became immune to it because they caught it. They might have thought it was allergies for a couple of days, because most people who are fit and everything, they don't even realize they have it. And by isolating us, I know this is about the 6th, 7th week I talked about this, but isolating us, so when we all do start going back out, which we're going to do, we're still vulnerable because we haven't been exposed to it. So, I think it was looking back, I think it was the wrong decision. It was too heavy-handed. I think the country's right now is how he put it in that video. I said you ought to check it out. That was a good chat he did. What he claimed was, and I'm agreeing with him, that what's happened lately, this is a dress rehearsal for a police state. If we don't start standing up and fighting for what's ours, fighting for freedom. We had people. You think about it. That's what the Revolutionary War was about, was freedom. We went, the Second World War was about fighting for our freedom because we didn't want to come on, we didn't want on the East Coast, the Germans trying to take over, and on the West Coast, you had the Japanese trying to kill us. It's our way of life. And problem is, it seems that we don't teach it anymore. And we need to kick some asses and say, come on, people. This is America. Sitting on your ass.
Usually it takes a tragedy for people to come together. Sadly.
Yeah, and the shame is Yeah, they don't teach it in school, but as a parent, with today's technology, your phone, your cell phone has more technology in it than it took us to send the people to the moon. We got computers, we got laptops, we got tablets. All the information is out there. As a parent, you could teach, pull up a few websites on the Constitution, say, kids, read this, and teach them yourself about it.
Yep.
Because that's where I was saying on that last part. If we don't, what do they say a generation is now? About 30 years? Is that class as a generation?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. We could lose this freedom, this liberty that we are trying to hold on to right now.
Well, I think that, and first of all, before I get off on that tangent, you already mentioned other stuff. I watched Joe Rogan had a podcast recently with Elon Musk, and so if anybody out there hadn't checked that out, and they're talking about all this and rights being stripped and how it's overreaction to all of this, and Elon Musk is kind of a weird guy anyway. So yeah, he had some pretty good insights on all of it. So I recommend people go check that out. But yeah, what you were talking about with parents teaching their children the Constitution. It goes so much deeper than that, though, Rick. Parents don't teach their kids about morality or, right and wrong or consequences or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's before you ever even can get to the Constitution and liberty and your rights, there's certain human fundamentals that all of that is based on, right? That you have to understand first, and parents aren't even taking the time nowadays to do that. And I'm not a big, Bible thumping, go to church, type person, but that certainly is played into, I think, the degradation of society a little bit, not because of the big man in the sky or anything like that, but just the principles and the morality that religion teaches, right? And so that's prevalent in the home, and then that leads ultimately to freedom and liberty and those sorts of things.
Yeah. You're right. You think about it, this country was built on Christian values. You can be atheist, you can be anything you want here. That's what they said. If you want to be a Muslim, be a Muslim. If you want to, if you want to be, if you're right now, I was baptized a Catholic, but if I choose, I could go become, part of the Jewish religion if I wanted to. That's my right.
Well, the whole idea was you're right. If you read documents of the founders and other things, yes, it was Judeo-Christian morality and values. But here's the kicker, and this is what's the beautiful thing about it, is they believe those were human, right? Were human conditions. They were not just specific to Christianity, but that applied to everybody everywhere on this planet.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people need to get a realization is that's 100% correct. And that's why I always say either you believe in Christian values or just plain old human being values, like the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's a human value. Every single human has that spark in them to want something better for them and their family. So it's an easy way to avoid getting drugged down into a religious conversation by saying exactly what Clover just said. These are human values as well. So if you don't want to look at it through a Christian perspective, like murder, it's pretty clear in Christianity murder is wrong. But it's also pretty clear in any other living human being that murder is wrong, unless you've got something wrong with you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there. So you're right. We need to teach values and everything else. It's just I don't know what is it our fault. Because I'm thinking about this. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. The more I talk to my aunt and uncle who are still alive, they're in their 80s, and they talk about my dad. because my dad didn't talk about his childhood that much. And I said this before, but talking to them, he had a very rough childhood. And I used to complain how rough mine was compared to his. He gave me paradise compared to what he had. And so with my kids, I thought they had a rough life, so I made their life easier than mine was, I thought. So are we doing it ourselves? Did we turn the country to the way it is? I don't know.
I think we did, but not for that reason. I think it's noble to want to give your kids better, but the problem is, you tried to give your son, just making up something, a better life than your dad gave you, Rick. And then when your son grows up, he wants to give his son a better life than you gave him, but this is out of spite now. That's where a lot of it has changed. Is a lot of these kids want to give their kids a lot of these parents want to give their kids a better life than their parents did out of spite, because they never looked back and realized, like you just said, didn't look back and realize, well, it was hard in our life because my dad worked his butt off to give me the best that he could.
Yeah. And looking back on it, my dad did. I said, even when he retired. He was in the Air Force. And he retired 21 years or something like that. But I remember even as when he was in the military, he had a part-time job somewhere most of the time.
Look at our speech patterns. We say things like, "I didn't have anything when I grew up." We didn't have crap. We didn't have S when I grew up. It was terrible. Well, think about all the clothes that you put on, all the food that you had, the school that you got to go to, the roof that was over your head. Go back to your parents and tell them that all of that was shit. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I said this the other week, too. I remember my aunt told me that my dad was the oldest out of all of them, and he was actually the only one that ever graduated high school, right? Out of all of them. But my aunt told me he had one pair of jeans that were just to wear to school, and he would take them off when he got home, and my grandmother would wash them and stuff for them to be ready for him for the next day, and I'm thinking I had a different pair of jeans to wear every day, and I'm hard done by.
Well, I think there's a line too, and I think it's responsible to have that line. And I'll throw out an anecdote. Just for me, I can remember many times wearing clothes from the Goodwill. Live in a poor area, whatever, and family was farmers and stuff like that for the most part. So a lot of seasonal. Farmers in oil fields, so both ups and downs and seasonal things. But anyway, so I can remember that, and I don't think I ever had a pair. I can remember my first pair of Levi's jeans I bought with my own money. New pair. Anyway, of Levi's jeans, right? Bought from the store. Before that, it was all I think dang near all my clothes come from Goodwill. Anyway, so fast forward to my oldest daughter. I can remember one time being in the mall. If she wanted like $179 pair of jeans, it was all ripped up. And we was back to school shopping. You know what I mean? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh. And she made a scene in the middle of the store, and I made a scene in the middle of the store. And, it was one of them things where, I get the sentiment of you want better for your children, but there has to be a line. And for me, $179 pair of ripped jeans was the line. And that's something that she has always remembered to this day. I think that's something that has, she's I guess she's still a young person because she's in her mid 20s now, but, that's something that's shaped who she is,
Yeah.
Just something that simple. Now, I could have been one of those parents that, I had the money. I could have been one of those parents that said, oh, here, okay, what size do you need, or whatever. But, that was a teaching moment to say, you don't really need that. You know what I mean? That's not frugal. That's ridiculous to spend that kind of money on that. You can buy a $15 pair of jeans and take them home and take a razor blade and do exactly the same thing. Wash them in some bleach, razor blade them and wash them in some bleach. And you basically got the same pair of jeans for $15.
Oh yeah, I
think
agree.
I think a lot of parents want to be their kids' friends as well. And that's a huge mistake. Being friendly with your kids is fine. Having your kid look up at you like, that's my dad's my best friend. Yeah, that's all good and fine. But you have to be a parent. I'm not saying that when you get older, like I'm in my 40s now. Now my parents are my friends. But I'm also well aware of the fact that my father is still my father and my mother is still my mother. They're not my buddies.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember a turning point with that too. It's neat that you mentioned that, Kingpin, because I can remember with my dad. I don't remember the day or exactly what was said, but looking back, there definitely was a time where there was kind of a switch to where he was always the dad, and then as I grew up and got married and had kids and did other things, that the relationship is totally different now. It's not completely different because he does go into dad mode occasionally, but it is more of a friend thing now than it is a parent, which is really weird.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I had the same thing, really. I really didn't think about it that much, but you're right.
Yeah, I'm still the dad.
Yeah, I thought you would be, Tony. How you doing?
Good. How's everybody?
We're all right. We're all right. So we're just talking here about the state of the country. I don't know. I mean, real quick, we were just talking about that. I was saying that this land isn't the home of the free and the brave anymore because we just rolled over. All this coronavirus bullshit is just it was just a how did I word it? A dress rehearsal for a police state. And also, what was the other thing I can't remember. What was the other thing I talked about? Damn, what was it? Oh yeah, we could lose our. This is what our last topic was. We're talking about. We could lose our liberty in a generation of people in this country if we don't stand up to what's been happening in this country. And some people have. I mean, that woman who got put in that hairdresser or whatever, when she stood up to the court and said, "No, I'm not apologizing for trying to feed my kids." She she stood up for what she believed in, what this country was made of.
Yep.
The judge telling her to apologize to the state for disobeying them. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, sadly, it all that worked out, but sadly, it took too long for it to work out, in my opinion. So.
Yeah.
But then that leads to a bigger issue. And if I'm not careful here, I'll go off on a totally unrelated tangent. But that leads to a bigger issue that, okay, if you're going to impose these stay-at-home orders and you're going to impose these things from a government level that says this is essential, this is not, you can't open, blah, 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 and then you're not going to enforce it, right? Which is kind of what they come out with her. And they're like, oh, you don't need to be locking business people up if they break this, order, violate this order, blah, 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 blah. Well, why in the crap did you pass the order in the first place?
Yes.
The order in play in the first place. If you're not going to enforce something, leave it alone. There's no need to have it there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Yeah, it was well said. Yeah. And basically the problem was the backlash that they got for what they did for that stupid order.
Right.
Because the order,
it was one of those cases too. I don't want to put too much on, state government here, but, it was one of those cases too, to where this was a municipality thing, that was overreaching far more than the state was. And you can't tell me that it wasn't on state level government. It wasn't on their radar long before they actually come out and made a statement and made a move on it, and this was the same way with when we go back here in Texas to when, the Texas Attorney General put out, an opinion and said, hey, gun shops, blah, 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 are essential, and knock it off. You can't, force them to close down. Well, it took him like 3 days or something. Once the opinion was even requested, it took him like 3 days to do that. Texas had passed legislation years and years ago that said you can't do that. So why the second that these municipalities didn't start trying to pull that stuff instead of weeks later, why not the second that it happens, you go, no, Jack, you can't do this. There's always this, it's the political system, and it's placating. It's placating for the media. It's placating for optics. It's all political theater is why. It's a rhetorical question I'm asking, but in every single incident, they drag it out, and then they make the obvious decision a lot of times, but why do you drag it out? It doesn't make any sense. It still goes back to the same thing I said just a second ago about why are you going to even pass an order if you're not going to, or put in an order in effect if you're not going to enforce it? Well, if people are doing something they're not supposed to do, why is that not called out immediately?
Well, yeah, and as soon as it's called out, like using the Texas thing, like Clover nailed it. Why pass the rule in the first place if you're not going to enforce it? Because now the guy who passed the rule is standing on his soapbox virtue signaling about how terrible it is that this woman had to go through that. Well, you shouldn't have put her through it then.
Yeah, but then I think it all goes back to controlling the people through fear. They were hoping people would see that and obey it and not question it because they wanted to control us. I'm not saying.
I think the government.
I think your Texas governor is a pretty good guy.
The people in the smoke-filled rooms that really control the world, they understand that fear is only a tool that they use when they need to, because they've sung us all to sleep with a beautiful little lullaby. Big 80-inch screen TV, fast red sports car, beautiful girl with fake boobs, big muscular guy. All of these things that have put us to sleep so they can do what they want while we're not paying attention. They only have to throw fear in every once in a while.
I didn't get any of that shit.
Oh, by the way, Ozzy says hello, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Tony, Ozzy said hello.
Tony got ripped off.
So, now explain yourself why you mean you didn't get any of that.
I got no 80-inch TV, no red sports car, no wife with fake boobs. I didn't get any of it.
It'll be in the mail soon. There's probably just a delay in shipping.
Yeah. It's on its way.
Yeah.
So, also another thing, too, is you use another one of his topics from his YouTube thing. And I mean,
so are you just going to steal the whole show, Rick? Is there going to be nothing original today?
Practically.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I mean, he says some stuff that he's so elegant in the way he puts what I'm trying to think, and I'm making a terrible job of what he actually said. But another one of his things was, and I agree with him. Where was it? The experts have destroyed people's lives.
The real important question, Rick, is: does this guy have a gold-trimmed Easy and a nickel-plated Ubarti? I don't think he does.
No, but no, he's a very. I mean, as and I think the experts did what the first thing they told us. What I couldn't believe is they went off a model from a British university what in the hell do they know about United States being in England? That 2.5 million Americans are going to die. You know?
Well, that same dude has done this on all the shit that's went down, SARS, swine flu, mad cow, and he's always been way over the top on his estimates.
Yeah, I can understand being a little bit cautious on this stuff, you know, but I mean, he went over to, and we bought it hook, line, and sinker, the country did. And the experts, they said, do this. So the government, the federal government said, do this. So the governors started forcing people out of work, closing their businesses down, you know, and making their life hard, going on unemployment and giving them a whole $1,200, you know, to get them. And that was meant to last 2 months. You're shitting me. You know, I get more than that under my disability, and I can't make it. I can't even make it last a month, let alone 2.
Well, you're too busy buying revolvers, Rick. So come on, man.
Yeah, I'm only getting. Right, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, but if you ain't got a sister to it, you ain't got nothing.
Well, I can't be as rich as you, Tony.
So one of the things that with all of these models, these projection models and stuff they use, it goes back into education, first of all, of the populace, and then it goes into the thinking of society as well. That if you really look at, and this is pretty much any predictive model on any subject that you can think of, but the variables at play in these predictive models, it's astonishing the amount of variables that are at play. And what they do is, if these variables only affected a certain percent or less, they completely exclude that from these models. And that would be fine if there was just one variable. If there was one variable that could affect the model by 1%, right? It's like, okay, it's still 99% accurate. We ain't even going to mess with that data. Throw it aside. But if there's 30 different variables that can affect it anywhere from 0 to 1%, that model could be off as much as 30%. And people don't, when they hear this and look at this, they just read a headline. They just look at a chart. They just listen to what, the simplicity that an expert says, and they take it. Why do they take that and just absorb it? Because people want an easy button. I've seen that all my life, and it still happens to this day, that if anything is remotely difficult, they're out. They want to be able to literally push an easy button and something to happen. And it's the same way with absorbing information. They just want to be told that, oh, this is bad, this is good, and go about their day. You can do this, you can't do that, and then go about their day.
You think that by now people would understand that experts forecast the weather.
Amen, man. Amen. I've learned if I look at my weather app here and it says 10% chance of rain, I better have my rain boots and my umbrella.
Well, that's the craziest thing about all this. And I said it at the beginning of all this and got a lot of flack for it. And I know Patriot was saying it too. Yesterday, we called all these news people fake news. Yesterday, we called all these politicians evil and corrupt. Yesterday, we laughed and made fun of everybody that pulled out a climate change model because we were all supposed to be dead 100 times already. So all these factors that we already know, we know the news is fake, yet we jumped right on as soon as we could. That's where your fear came in. The news offered the powers that be offered a little bit of fear, and we hopped right on top of it. All of a sudden, news became, the end all be all. Politicians became the end all be all. Models. We've got to trust the models. And what the problem is, when somebody like me would call that stuff out, there's people out there that were saying that I was stupid and I was crazy and I didn't care if my mother died.
Yeah, I was killing people because I say, let's open it up and go for it. And exactly Sweden survived, without doing a damn thing, and they're surrounded by countries, they're in Europe, and they survived by doing the way they did it.
Dr. Brooks came out and said, right live on television during the coronavirus task force, that anybody who dies with COVID died from COVID. She said anybody who was suspected to have had COVID didn't get tested and was marked a COVID death, marked a COVID illness. There's a study out right now. One of these African nations got a bunch of South Korean tests. Purposefully, they tested a bunch of goats and a bunch of kiwi fruits, like the little green fruit with the fuzz on it. Lo and behold, every test came back positive for coronavirus. So now the goats and the kiwis got it. Now all of these numbers, we know that they're fraudulent. Why hasn't the whole conversation been stopped? Stop everything right now, and let's find out who actually is sick from coronavirus. Who actually died from the coronavirus. And until we have that conversation, all of this is a waste of time.
Okay. And that goes back. Now, here's a question for you. We know that we don't know some of the numbers they come up with, as you said. If somebody died, they contributed to the COVID, even though it might not have been. So, here, this is my own thought here. I didn't get this off of him, Clover. Here's my own thought then. Did China lie about their numbers? If it's not as bad as it turned out to be?
Well, you can be sure that the Chinese communists lied no matter what they were saying.
That's what I was fixing to say. That's a given, isn't it? That's just default mode for them, I think.
No, because, if you look at, they have the amount of citizens they have in this country of China compared to what we have, and we've had more deaths than they've had. But our numbers are inflated. And
all of them are. All China's numbers are inflated. All Sweden's numbers are inflated. All Denmark, France, Uruguay, Nigeria, Papua New Guinea. Every number out there is fraudulent. You can't trust any of it. And that's a shame, because we don't know if it's real or if it's fake. Is this something that we actually really need to take more serious? Or is this something that we can, open a country back up and move on with our lives? We don't know, because they keep lying about the numbers.
Well, the bad thing, and this is the horrible thing about the inaccurate data, and this is one of the things on the Joe Rogan that Elon Musk was talking about, is the bad thing about it is this isn't fake. The virus is not fake. And so that's the concerning thing, is we're dealing with a real thing, but we're dealing with it with totally inaccurate data. How do you do that? There's no possible way to deal with something if you're not looking at actual valid data.
Yeah.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Exactly.
I tell you, in a few years, once this is all settled down and everything else, I go back and say, this was the worst mistake we ever did. So I don't know. Oh, real quick, totally off subject. I just want to go back to when I was talking about something to do with. Oh, we're talking about living off of $1,200 for 2 months, the stimulus check. Ohio 45 says I'm surviving on my YouTube money. It costs me money to run this channel.
I could survive on $600 a month, but I'm in a much better position and more unique position than the vast majority of people out there too.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I could, because that's almost how much my rent is.
Right. Yeah.
So there we go. Anyway, back on our topic. I just wanted to bring that. I said it cost me money to run this YouTube. I don't get enough. I don't get enough Patreon. I'm not trying to. How do I say this without sounding like an ass? I don't get enough Patreon money to even cover my postage or my prizes I send out. So I'm not begging for money, but I just wanted to state that out there. I do it because I like doing it.
Well, I see all kind of advertising opportunity behind you there, Rick. You need to up your game a little bit, man.
Had more naked women on here.
Yeah.
The Rick's Life, as I see it, pole dancers. That's
That's
how
what I
you-
need. Yeah. Have a couple of them
Guarantee
doing my show. You know?
I guarantee you I wouldn't forget what day it was most of the time.
You'd be very quiet there in New York.
What's that?
You've been very quiet in this chat.
Yeah, just listening. And a lot of the points were pretty much made, I think. So, I pretty much put my opinion out there, and a lot. We're kind of having the same conversation in some ways, but a lot of things starting to hone the values, the lack of, self-value, self-pride. Being a parent means you have a job to do, which isn't always fun. Basically, I kind of concur with pretty much most of what was said. So, didn't feel the need to ramble on the same thing that everybody else was saying. It's pretty well known here, I think. Unfortunately, it's a bigger number, so that we got to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you something interesting that I seen yesterday.
What's that?
And that's we went to Walmart to pick up some groceries, and there was traffic on the roads like before this whole thing took place. I mean, just perpetual traffic. And
So people in
evidently people are
Illinois,
getting tired of sitting at home.
ain't following the rules, huh?
Hell no, and all the local sheriffs said they wouldn't enforce them anyway.
Yeah. I mean, has the governor eased up any in Illinois?
A couple of things.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
He let two people go out in a boat now.
Okay.
He let his wife travel to their vacation house. I mean, that was
Yeah,
pretty
they
cool.
went to Florida.
Yeah, I just wondered if he wasn't blaming it on Indiana again, all their troubles. You know? So.
I'm still waiting on my dump truck load of guns, damn it.
All right.
With as
But anyway.
fantastic as roll call and Rick are, it's hard to believe that Indiana is so terrible.
What was that?
I said, with as fantastic as roll call and Rick are, it's hard to believe that Indiana is so terrible.
I know.
Politicians from Chicago, man. Indiana is hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
a terrible
Satan.
I mean, actually, roll call is closer to running bag loads of guns over the state line because he's very close to it. He's closer to Illinois than I am, you know. So, but yeah, we're the bad people. We're bringing all the guns to Illinois and everything else. So I just thought he might blame us for bringing the virus over to you guys too. You know?
You probably did.
Yeah, yeah.
We have an international airport in Chicago.
One of the biggest in the country.
The coronavirus was stuck to all those illegal guns that crossed the border.
That's right.
I discovered that a big group of people that are connected to us here, mostly through the old lady's job, all had, I'm sure it was corona, back in January and February. The doctor said it was bacterial, but bacteria doesn't spread like that.
No, you're right. You're right. You more than likely did have it, Tony, because we thought you were dying when you came on the morning shows. You sounded like it anyway. But unfortunately, you didn't die, so we're still stuck with you.
Yeah, fuck you too, man.
Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. Texas. You guys got to be careful there in Texas. The moms demand action. What's the other one? Hometown for Safety or whatever it's called. And the Bloomberg. He supports both of them. But I was listening to something yesterday, and it's mainly women. Women seem to get off their asses and do this shit. they've got already 400,000 people in Texas trying to turn the state blue, and they're going to do it if you guys ain't careful. It all goes back to what I said at the beginning: your freedom and your liberty. If you're going to sit on your ass and let the government take care of you, you're going to lose. You know, if that's what you want, then, you know, let them have their way.
It's kind of a freaking hypocritical statement from you and I's standpoint, Rick.
Why?
Since how we sit on our asses and let the government take care of us.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know about you, Tony, but I paid in Social Security all my working life, except for the few years I worked
So did I.
But, you know, but every time I worked an American job, I paid into my Social Security. Yes, I will more likely by the time I die, I will more likely get back more money than I actually paid into it. But I did pay into it. And I paid taxes all my life. You know, I've even been fined by the IRS and paid extra money into it through taxes and everything else. So don't give me that shit.
That's why I said kind of hypocritical and not just flat out hypocritical.
You know? No. I mean, I want to know everybody who pissed and moaned about this stimulus check that it shouldn't be done. I want to know how many people sent it back and said, I don't want it.
Mine's sitting in the savings account, but I didn't send it back.
It's the same thing. I want to know, just like we talked off there. You know, all these people that said that you should be more prepared. You should be more prepared. Well, I was prepared for 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks I got screwed. I was prepared for 1 month. Well, now I'm screwed. I was prepared. How prepared are you supposed to be for the government coming in and shutting your building off? Mm-hmm. You know, I get being a prepper and not being caught with your pants down, but nobody could have expected that the government was going to shut the whole world. The whole planet shut down. Nobody could have been ready for that.
You're right. But just talking about America here, it still amazes, back to my original question, it still amazes me how the government, either federal or state, told somebody who owns his own business, you got to close. Boom, done. Taking away his freedom, his liberty, his livelihood, his pursuit of happiness. Gone down because somebody says you can't open.
Yeah, you know, especially when there's, you know, I mean, we've dealt with, I mean, look at it from this perspective. Most municipalities, counties, you know, state, federal government, whatever, has some type of health department. There's some type of health code. There's been health related regulation and legislation forever, right? So something like this comes up. You know, I guess I got to throw a question. Do you have a problem? Because I don't. But do you have a problem with, let's say, the health department in the town that you live in, coming in and saying, coming to the city council and saying, hey, we need to make sure that businesses, this is a health issue and a threat out there, and we need to make sure we get this information out to businesses, you know, and then pass this out, whether it's wear masks or hand sanitizer or, you know, lowering, you know, the whatever max capacities or whatever you have to be. But, and here's the kicker, let the local health authorities deal with that, not the federal government or not the state government. And then that way you're based on, because my problem is the situation in New York City is not the same as the situation here, right? So that eliminates that problem. That eliminates this catch-all, putting everybody into a box where they may not fit. Then the second component is you don't force it. But, you know, when you don't force it, it's one of those situations where if there's a business and that business is not making people wear a mask, it doesn't have signs up for social distancing, they don't have hand sanitizer, they're not limiting capacity, you know, they're not doing anything, this business is, and you're a high risk person, or you've got a high, whatever, at risk rate, right? You're elderly, you're sick, you're whatever. That's on you when you walk in that place.
That's what I was going to say. That is on you. That is on you. You know, you have the choice. I mean, I don't think anybody should be told to do anything under what's going on. And it's up. I mean, if the store wants to do it, fine, but they shouldn't be forced to do it. Right. And if you go somewhere, you know, if you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear one. The way I look at it, don't tell me I got to wear one.
Well, you don't have a right to, you don't have a right to be able to shop where you want to shop or what. I mean, I got a right to shop at Walmart. No, you really don't.
No, you don't. No, you don't. The Walmart is private business. They can tell you to stay out. That's like some stores. It's not everywhere, but some stores, you can't carry a firearm in there.
Well, no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Yeah.
Here's a question though. Now, let's say I actually have had the coronavirus, which I'm 100% positive I did. Why the hell am I shut in?
Because you choose to be.
No, I don't.
Then go out then. Nobody's stop. The reason you're not going anywhere, I mean, besides, being retired and you're sitting on your fat ass anyway all day. But what I'm saying is what keeps people in is fear. Fear that all these rules they made, if we're breaking, we're going to get in trouble for them because we're law-abiding citizens. We don't
don't stay in. I'm just making a point is if you're not safe to go out once you have these antibodies, we ain't ever getting out.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying. A whole bunch of us are going to go out now, and we're going to get sick with it. We ain't going to die, but we're going to catch it because we've been stuck away from everybody. If we had been out there and getting it and having our little fever and our little dry cough and getting over it, then we would have the antibodies to fight it off in the future. Just like anything going around.
What I had wasn't no little dry cough and a little fever. I thought I was dying. I really did.
Same with me, if that's what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. It was different stages for different people.
But mine was
a lot of because maybe you had it, maybe you didn't. Maybe these people have gone through it, maybe they haven't in some cases. So
right. Yeah,
a lot of people claim they think they had it, but there's no way of knowing. So again, that's math we're just kind of guesstimating at. So
I'm gonna as soon as there's an antibody test or whatever that's reasonably affordable and available, I'm gonna take one. Because I'm genuinely curious because I was, it was a weird sickness because I was about to die for like 2 days. And it was literally like somebody flipped the switch, man. It was like, it wasn't no gradually getting better. I mean, I had the cough for like 2 weeks afterwards, but as far as being deathly ill, it was like 2 days and then just a switch flipped. It was weird.
Yeah, that's same here, man. It was just a couple of days, maybe 3.
You're good at it, So you're good to go. I mean, I don't know how long the antibodies last, but
Well, if the antibodies don't work, then the fucking vaccine won't work either.
Well, personally, what's going to happen is, like when you get to a certain age, you go to the doctors, they tell you time for your flu shot. Now it'd be a flu shot and a COVID-19 shot. It more likely be combined in a few years. So one shot that covers both of them.
Great, another one I won't get.
I mean, hell, it don't bother me any. My free Medicare, which ain't free. I pay for it, by the way. Pays for it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, they're injecting you with tracking markers.
Oh, absolutely. They're tracking me by my cell phone by shooting stuff into my body, So
satellites.
Anybody? Isn't the? I was thinking about this. The Patriot Act, isn't that still a thing?
Well, yeah.
So I mean, everybody said, well, I'm not going to give out my social security number. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. They are hearing everything you do, every email that's ever sent, and any text message you ever done. It goes through their systems.
Well, it's being collected and then
Yes,
can be drawn upon depending.
I mean, you think about how much information they're collecting just out of the United States of America.
They're also collecting a lot of misinformation.
Would you imagine how many people they would have to hire to sift through all that? You know, they're looking at it, but they're gathering it, and they must have some algorithm that picks out certain words, and that's what they look at. You know,
hey, Rob, you sound like you're talking into a cup.
I really get a kick out of the guys who refuse to put their social security number on their 4473.
Yeah, I do too.
What the hell is the point of that? It's the federal government. You think they don't know who you are?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And don't get me wrong. Some people get paranoid. I mean, like even back to your tax return, even this stimulus check. Well, my tax return, I have the paper check sent to me because I don't want them to know my banking details. They already goddamn know your banking details. But Jesus Christ, the bank's giving them the info every year. You know? So you ain't hiding nothing. You're not hiding a goddamn thing from anybody. So that's my opinion anyway, what it's worth. It ain't worth much. So,
no
biggest
shit.
issue with the Patriot Act is it keeps getting renewed. These politicians that are going to stand up and hope and change and drain the swamp and all these other kinds of things keep renewing it.
To certain people, it has a lot of advantages, which is part of the reason it shouldn't be here.
Well, in amongst those 12 billion items in it that are horrible, there's like 2 or 3 that are all right.
In what? In the Patriot Act?
Yeah.
What's good about the Patriot Act?
They're going to keep this terrorist from killing you in the middle of the night, Rick. That's what it's for.
I was speaking figuratively, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I don't know.
I couldn't understand if the umpteen hundreds of intelligence agencies this country has, and we spend billions of dollars a year supporting them, right? And they didn't catch the people going to fly airplanes into the towers.
There's reports, some of them.
The Patriot Act to help these, and these agencies are still getting billions of dollars, and we even made a new one. We're making new agencies all the time.
Back then, they didn't really think about how difficult it was to tap a cave.
No.
I think it's a whole nother level, and you're looking at the show, but when you look back into that, like you're stating, they couldn't catch the people with the planes or whatever. I would argue there's a lot of information that different people may have even assisted some of these people. So I don't know. I think there's a lot more going on, especially even right now with the economy and where we sit as a country and how stable people think we are, and everybody's just waiting. I don't know. I just don't think. I think something's going on. I'll just put it that way.
Nah, Two Gun Kitty's got it right. It's named the Patriot, so it has to be good. Yeah. So there you go.
I understand that there's a definite difference between the economy and the stock market, but how are there 30 million plus people out of work and the stock market continues to rise? What's going on over there? The oil companies have got ships floating around with oil in it they can't use. Airplanes aren't flying. All this kind of craziness is going on. The governments are still shut down. Yet the economy's still going. The economy's crashing, but the stock market's going up.
Yep, I think we got some big issues.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, real quick before we wind down or whatever, let me get last week's quiz out the way for the swag pack. The question was, where is it? It had to do with Colonel Rex Applegate in 1950. I wanted to know what gun he used to put down the machete waving person that was trying to kill him. And he used I think it's called a fourth model 38 Smith & Wesson hammerless with a 2-inch barrel. That's what it was. And the next part of that question was, after that, what did that sort of help develop? And it was the new Smith & Wesson Centennial revolver on the was it K-frame and 38 special. So that was the answer. And I had 4 entries. So you've got 25% chance each of you are winning. So
is that known user one?
My God. No, unknown user didn't enter. If he did, I didn't see it. I deleted it or something because he's not in it. So, all right, hit my draw now button. Ohio 45? Yeah, Ohio 45 ACP. He won last week, didn't he? You rigged it.
I don't know.
But he won again. You know, he won again. God damn. So, you won again, Ohio 45. I said there was only 4 people, so it was a 25% chance. So, there you go. All right, this week's swag pack. I found this one easy, but it's different. You know, because sometimes I sit here for an hour trying to think of a question. You know, then, but Watchcall should get this one. Tony should get this one. And Squib would get this one if he was here. Right? It's back to the movie, The Outlaw Josie Wells. What I want to know, here, let me read this one line to you. It's the dude when he was coming across and he came up and put that gun to the back of that Indian's head. And he goes, and Josie Wells goes, besides, it ain't supposed to be easy to sneak up behind an Indian. Now, what I want to know is what did that Indian say back to him? You know, I got it written down here, what his actual, it was a couple of sentences, he said. And only that is, I want to know that Indian, I want to know what his real name was.
Wait a second. So you got, what is it again? You got a white guy walks up to an Indian and says, "What happened?"
Yeah, in the movie Josie Wells, he walks up behind this Indian was stalking him, but somehow Josie Wells got up behind him, and he put a gun to his head, and they had a conversation. And one of the last thing he said to him, besides, it ain't supposed to be easy to sneak up behind an Indian.
Oh, then the answer to that was, "How dare you be so racist?" That had to be the answer. You can just send me the prize pack.
Okay, but I want to know what he said, what his reply was to that, and what his real name is. So there you go. That's the question. Email me at rickslife@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com by 12 noon next Saturday. So there we go. All right. Oh, and who was unknown user wanted to know when I was doing the quiz for the Uberti, 1875. And I said, what answer did I give him? 2045. June 2045 is when that quiz will be available. So remind me then.
Are you going to do a cut of the week?
My cut of the week is I had it on top of my head. I didn't write it down. Oh yeah, is country style ribs. Which come from the rib end of the pork loin, really. You know, I mean, people do it in different ways, but basically, you could do it with any pork chop, really, but you normally use the rib end because it's fattier. And you take your knife and you slice down. You sort of butterfly it open, so you have the bone with meat on one side and boneless on the other. Then you slice between each bone, which would give you a country style, maybe, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches long. You could cut it in half to have a boneless country style and a bone-in country style. Totally up to you. But either one of those, throw that on the grill, cover it in barbecue sauce or season it with rub or whatever. And it's, it's a fairly inexpensive cut. I prefer eating those than I do to baby backs or regular spare ribs because there's more meat on them. Personally, myself. And I think you're fine if I remember correctly. I haven't checked on them in a long time. But they used to be cheaper than baby backs or spare ribs per pound. So that's what I would use. So, if you like eating pork, especially, it just tastes just like a pork rib when you barbecue it. Except when you bite onto it, you got some meat, to chew. And it's quite tender as well. So that's my cut of the week. What?
I said, sounds good to me.
Oh, yeah.
Love ribs, so.
Country style spare ribs.
I'll take them.
Country style spare ribs. I said, if you can't find them, buy some rib end pork chops and just sort of like pretend you're cutting it in half, but just, you just fold it over for you just butterfly it open. And then
do all these cuts go from pork and beef, or you get the same cuts out of a cow that you do out of a pig?
Similar. Yeah, there's a few that get different names for them, but it's basically they're all basically the same. Even a lamb. You cut them. It's basically the same pieces but different names. Oh yeah, Two Gun Kitty said they are good for slow cook crock pot. Oh yeah, they are. You put them in a crock pot with some sauce and let them just cook for hours. Oh man, you pull them out, that meat will just literally fall apart. So there you go. So that's it on that. Anything else, guys? Talk to me. I got my new gun.
I got nothing.
See, them only get shut down by YouTube for showing a live gun on a live show,
When do you think you're going to be able to shoot it for the first time?
If the weather holds, I'm going to be doing it Monday. I'm going to go down the range Monday.
We're going to get a range.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Rick.
Yeah.
I realize that it's polite of you to not go to the range on the weekends when you was in New Hampshire.
Rhode Island.
Busy. Rhode Island, wherever. But have you ever seen anybody else at the range you use now?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I don't think they even use it during the week. As I said, I've seen people down there fishing, but I've never seen anybody over on the range side except because I can hear them from here when they do it, except for 4 times a year when they do turkey shoots. You hear the shotguns going off all day long. That's the only times they use it. And before they had a shoot just before the virus happened, and I went down there. What was it? 2 days afterwards, and the grass was covered in those what the hell you call them? Those plastic pieces inside the shotgun shells.
Wads.
The wads. It was like a carpet of wads out there. That's so many who got shot. But then I went back one more time before the shutdown. And that here in Indiana didn't really shut down, but I was following rules and staying home, right? But I went back one more time after that, and they cleaned it up, and that was it. Then I went to the range. What was it? Last week I went, and it looked like nobody had been there for this whole time because hell, I had trouble getting the lock open. It was so stiff. I don't think it'd been open for 2 months. So
start carrying WD-40.
Yeah, going to have to. Yeah, you're right. I could have gone down there today or tomorrow, and I doubt that there would be a soul down there. But it's just a habit I got into when I lived in Rhode Island that I wouldn't go shooting on the weekends because I don't work. So I'm thinking, because I'm a nice guy and I think of others.
It's a bad habit when you move to the boonies.
That I would leave the weekends for the people who work Monday to Fridays. That way they can go to the range. And I'm not taking up space because I can go shoot anytime I want. That's the way I used to do. That's the way I used to do it, and I just carried it on here. That's all. So. Now, if my cousin said, "Come on over," let's shoot some at his house on the weekend, I'll go do that. I don't have a problem doing that, but there we go. I prefer shooting over his place anyway. It's somebody to talk to while you're shooting. You know what I'm saying? I mean, where I go, there's only me there. I tell myself how good I am. But I am a pretty good shot if I say so myself. So
we'll see. Show targets when you come back from shooting 1875.
I don't use paper targets. I use steel. I got paper targets. I got to build a stand for them. That's why I don't use them. But I like.
How large is steel target? Because from 15 feet, anybody could hit one the size of a damn refrigerator.
My targets are 6-inch circles, and I put them at about. I normally stick it about 15 yards. And sometimes I'll do the 25 yard. Because that's what I was taught to shoot with 25 yards. Because that's what I had to do to get my CCW up in Rhode Island. So I said I'm a pretty good shot.
At 15 yards, you ought to be able to hit a 6-inch target. There's no doubt.
What kind of range do you get with a revolver like that? Like, what's its max?
Hell, I don't know.
And I'm not talking about like a lucky shot. I mean, sure you could, throw it at the target 100 yards away and maybe hit it, but like your average max distance for a revolver like that.
Probably 50 yards, and that would be stretching it. I mean, it's pretty slow, so you start losing a lot quick.
Yeah, I was looking it up the other day. They do. It is pretty slow. Even my fat ass could outrun one of those. Yeah.
I come down to visit. We can try that out.
No, that's all right. It's all right. So anyway, anybody else got anything they want to talk about? Any topics or anything they want to bring up? No? All right. We're going to start winding it down then. So if I can go feed the cats and feed myself. I think I'm going to... Actually, it's kind of cold today. The cold front come through here. We're on the very tip of it. If you look at the weather forecast, I mean, up in the extreme northeast, they're getting snow. And down at the end of that blue tail has come down to this part of Indiana here. So I mean, I think it's in the low 50s right now. But I'm going to go fire up the grill. I'm going to do some bratwurst. Or should I do hot dogs? My decision is bratwurst or hot dogs. I'm not sure which. I'm not going to do both because if I do both, I'll eat it all.
Well, here we won't do hot dogs unless we do chili, and I don't feel like making chili.
No, I tell you what I need to buy for my hot dogs next time I go shopping, which might be Monday. is I want some sauerkraut on my hot dog. You know, because I like sauerkraut on a hot dog, but I haven't bought any sauerkraut in a long time.
I used to love sauerkraut when I was younger, but man, I can't take it anymore.
You know, so. Oh yeah, I think I'll go with the brats. I think I'll do the brats. You know, that's what I'm going to have. I'm going to throw them on the grill and do those. There's only 6 in the packet. I can eat 6. You know,
God,
what? They ain't that big. They're only the size of a hot dog. You know,
what the hell kind of brats you buying?
Yeah,
What kind of hot dogs?
Johnsonville.
we get are much bigger than hot dogs.
Yeah,
No shit, I can eat 2.
you know. I don't know what's wrong with you guys. It ain't that hard to eat 6 of them. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I could probably
maybe
eat
that's
6
why
of
I'm so
them.
fat. You know.
I could probably eat 6 of them after I finish the second one and I pass out. If you guys stuff the rest of them down my throat while I'm unconscious.
Yeah.
I could probably eat the 6 if it was a bet, but normally I'd probably stop around 2, but that's just me.
I mean, yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't find a problem with it. I'm not, you know, I don't find it hard. I'm not forcing the last one down.
Yeah.
I am
no.
full. But when I'm finished, I am full.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll tell you, to fix hiatal hernia, they tied a knot in the top of my stomach, which effectively cut in half what I could eat.
Yeah.
you don't technically have to eat till you're full. You know, just
I know.
you know what I mean. So it's all on you. What you want to do. People have different views of
yeah.
life,
I mean,
you know what
really,
I mean? But yeah,
Rob,
really,
Rob,
all I should take is 2 or 3 out of the packet and put the rest back in the fridge. But normally, what I'll do is I'll just open the whole packet and put them on the grill. You
yeah,
know?
Rob's like 6 foot tall, probably 175 pounds. I'm 6'2", 150 pounds. That's why we can't eat 6 brats.
Well, you do. If you do, you'll be big as me.
Yeah, I'm 5'10" and 150 pounds.
Now you're making me guilty. I'm going to have to only eat 3 today. Well, I need to lose weight anyway, but so there we go.
What kind of toppings do you put on your brats? Do you put the sauerkraut on there, mustard, any hot sauce or anything?
I normally put English mustard on them because English mustard's hot.
He ain't got no sauerkraut. He just said that.
I ain't got no sauerkraut, but
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
If you had some,
I'll
would
put
you?
English mustard on them, and because English mustard is real hot, and when you bite into it and you get a good dollop of it in your mouth, it makes your nose run. It's so hot. You know?
Throwing any vegetables or salad along with that or something?
Hell no. Why don't we eat healthy shit for? I'll take the bratwurst and I'll put it in a bun if I have any. If not, I'll just slap it between a slice of bread and roll it in and chomp on it, put some mustard on it, and chomp on the damn thing.
Are
You
we
know?
still broadcasting a live show here? If
Yes,
so,
we
I'm
are.
sorry, people.
We are. You know?
Is a bratwurst hot dog wrapped in a piece of white bread, a sandwich?
Yes, it is.
You bet.
You bet. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. Let me shut this thing down because I think people are leaving the show here. So I want to say thanks to everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. I'll be back on Wednesday at 7 p.m. with my normal show, Shooting with Disabilities. And I will see you all. I will see you all then. I've lost my thing. Where is it? Oh, here it is. All right. End the street. So good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for stopping by.